Hey everybody, my name is Paul Liston Jr., aka Boy Green. Welcome live to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25, and it's another Mock Draft Monday, which means we have another great NFL draft expert joining us here on the show to break down all things draft and, of course, talk all things New York Jets. On today's show, I go back to an old channel, a friend of mine that we've never had on video before, but let's bring him on now. Let's bring him through this, and that's, of course, Emory Hunt, owner of the Football Game Plan. He's about to give the New York Jets football game plan right here and right now. Emory, what's happening, man?
I'm doing fine, man. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Of course, Emory, before we get into all this Jets and draft stuff, specifically, you have released another Emory Hunt exclusive, a football game plan draft guide. I saw the little teaser on Twitter, that little video of strumming through it. That looks thick, my friend. Give us the deets. Where can people go get it and get the football game plan, man?
Yeah, absolutely right. You're looking at over 650 pages, over 580 NFL draft prospects. They can go to footballgameplan.com/2021 draft guide and get their copy. Again, everyone has their own individual scouting report. Just to show folks here, I do have it. I have mine printed up, and that's it right there. So you're looking at a good, this is all scouting reports. So you want to see what scouting reports look like? That's what they look like. So footballgameplan.com/2021 draft guide. The PDF version is full color, so looks a lot better. But if you want to print it out, like I always do, just for thumbing through purposes and carrying it along with me, that's how I did it. But PDF full color copy, footballgameplan.com/2021 draft guide.
And before we get any deeper, I need to know. I mean, that is a thick draft guide, Emory. How long does it take? Bring us a little bit of the process. This obviously isn't your first rodeo making one of these.
No, this is my second year making a draft guide. Normally, I put my prospect rankings out in video form, which I still do, but I want to add a little bit more meat behind the rankings. So people just saw rankings on my YouTube channel, and now they get to see the actual scouting notes that went into those rankings. So I pulled them back behind the curtain. So I don't start my draft process until January, when I go out to the different All-Star games. And then once I get back home and off the road, I'm locked into my office watching film from the day after the Super Bowl to the day before the combine. So all my draft grades and stuff are done. Complete film is watched complete before the combine. So any grades that you see from me are pre-combine, and that's how I feel it has to be, because you don't want to get influenced by what you see from a workout, whether it's combine or pro day. So it takes me about 2 weeks to watch all the film on all the prospects that are in my draft guide. So you're talking about 3 film each, over 600 prospects in a normal year. So it goes from 5 a.m. to about 8 p.m. at night, just watching film, grading guys. And then for 2 weeks, I'm done with film study. And then it's, putting out the draft grades on video and then publishing the draft guide. So you have everything before the combine kicks off.
Well, I'll tell you this, Emory. For those who don't know, and this may be their first taste of the Emory Hunt experience here on my YouTube channel and also on radio as well, as this will be later played on radio, I got to tell you, there is no one that's a bigger grinder than Emory Hunt. So you put in the work, love, and I hope everyone, again, goes to purchase it, because it is well worth the investment of throwing some money at and getting, better scope for everybody to get ready for the NFL draft. And with that being said, Emory, we're going to tap into that deep understanding of yours of the 2021 NFL draft, because I'm going to be honest, the Jets have a lot of needs. So we've got a lot of questions we need answered here, Emory. First off, linebacker. It's the most underrated need for the Jets this offseason. Not enough people are talking about it. And as a matter of fact, even I'm not talking enough about it, because with every expert we've had from the end of the Super Bowl till now, we've had a draft insider join us on the show, and I've yet to ask any questions about linebackers. So, Emory, you'll be the first one here. Who are some linebacker prospects the Jets could potentially target? Because linebacker seems to be an issue. They got C.J. Mosley, who hasn't played in basically 2 years. They got Blake Cashman, who's always injured, and some guy named Jared Davis, who was a former first-round bust of the Lions. They need some help.
Well, I think this is a good draft to where they can update the speed and athleticism at the second level, whether they want to go out on the edge or whether they want to go on the inside. You look at the inside, someone like Garrett Wallow out of TCU, tremendous athleticism, but good instincts. This guy was a former safety turned inside linebacker, and I think he would be a good fit for New York. You also look on the outside, maybe Joe Tryon, the edge rusher from Washington. They need to be able to affect the pocket in the best way possible. To do that is getting someone that's long, athletic, with good burst off the edge. He would be someone that I could see being in play for them, whether it be with their second first round pick or top of the second round. I think that's a guy that would definitely fit in well. Chaz Surratt, another one from North Carolina, outstanding athleticism, former quarterback. He could play inside or outside backer. I think he'll be better suited as an inside backer within this defense because of his intelligence and what he can do in the short to intermediate area of the passing game. He can match up and cover guys down the seam. He also is a good pressure player, blitzing from the inside. So I'm a big fan of his game. And if you want someone that's just a standard outside linebacker, he's not really a pass rusher. Tevin Collins, I think, can play. Zaven Collins, I'm sorry, can play across the board. Whether you want him as a traditional inside backer in a 3-4 defense or an outside backer in the 4-3. I don't think he's a 3-4 edge rusher, but he's someone that you can't go wrong with having on your second level.
Well, that's it. Robert Saleh coming over with the Jets now is going to be changing this thing from a 3-4 predominantly to now a 4-3. So you're going to need some 4-3 linebackers, some guys who can cover, and that's something they're certainly lacking right now. Let's jump over to the offensive side. Now, the Jets need wide receiver help. They've needed wide receiver help for a long time, but they need a specific set of skills. I feel like a little Liam Neeson here with a little Taken. They need somebody who brings some wheels, some juice, some speed. They got a lot of the same kind of guys on this team right now. Denzel Mims, Corey Davis, physical, contested catches, tough guys, but they need a burner. Give me some guys, Emory, who's got some real wheels in this draft that they could add, whether it's in the first round or outside of it for the New York Jets.
Well, obviously just to stay away from the major players in this thing, whether you're talking about Devonta Smith, those guys, we all know those guys are going to probably go really high, and the Jets won't be taking a wide receiver at number 2. But if you're talking about later, you're looking at someone like Diami Brown can really fly. I like Anthony Schwartz out of Auburn, who can really go. Dwayne Eskridge is one that you can find that can really fly. So there's some good speed guys in this draft, and I like the speed they have already on the roster. To be honest, Corey Davis can run. You talked about Denzel Mims; he can fly. I like what they have quickness wise in Jamison Crowder. So they got some dudes in place. They got enough talent. So I think wide receiver probably for them will be further down the line. But you can find someone like an Eskridge or even a Schwartz could go in that second, third roundish area. He runs a 4.2. You think about these taller guys, maybe someone like a Mike Strawn late in the draft, from University of Charleston, who runs 4.4 at 6'5". So there's a ton of speed at that position in this year's draft class.
Again, we're speaking with Emory Hunt, owner of the Football Gameplan. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter. He's one of the best in the gosh darn business here on a Mock Draft Monday. And Emory, let's go to another position that isn't quite the highest on the hog. Again, the Jets are in the lack of a first world problem here. They got a lot of needs. That's why they're picking number 2 in this draft. But one of the positions on offense that maybe isn't one of the top ones is tight end. I love Chris Herndon, and I'm probably the biggest Chris Herndon fan left on the planet. And unfortunately, it's been quite underwhelming. So you may need some help in that department. How deep is this tight end class this year? Is it simply Kyle Pitts than everybody else? Or is there some guy in the mid to late rounds that could take a flyer on that may have some upside?
Well, there's a lot of guys that could have upside. I mean, it all depends on how soon they want to, find someone at the position. I agree with you. They do have to upgrade there. You can't really depend on Chris Herndon. Last year was supposed to be the breakout year, but we saw how that played out. And Griffin was someone that, is a solid co-pilot, but they really need someone that can be a threat there. And if they don't want to take Kyle Pitts or try to move up to get him, depending on how high he goes, he won't be there at 23 for them in the first round, definitely. But you look at someone like Pat Freiermuth out of Penn State. You also could look at Jacob Peterson, who's the son of former NFL coach, Josh Peterson. And you think about someone like Tommy Tremble, an H-back out of Notre Dame, could be someone that could run sidecar with Chris Herndon, and therefore you could have some success with that. If you want another inline guy, I think Freiermuth may be the best one to go inline wise. Flex guys, there's a bunch of those. We talked about Peterson. You look at someone that the kid from Notre Dame that you could probably move into to a bigger tight end. I'm talking about the wide receiver number 18. I can't remember his name. It's Ben something, but
Yeah.
Schwarnick, I believe that's his name. You could move him to a flex type tight end. He has the size and ability. So we'll see. But I think Freiermuth should be a legitimate target for the Jets.
And for people who are watching this on YouTube right now, if you look inside Emory Hunt's home office there, you see a little jersey over there, a little 2-6 action. Emory, that's because I believe he used to be a former running back. Is that correct?
Yeah, I used to play running back at the University of Louisiana, home of the Raging Cajuns. You see right there behind me. That was many moons ago. You're talking about 2 decades ago almost.
I won't bring up the dates, but I'll tell you this: as a former Oswego high school running back, not quite to the Raging Cajun level. So I want to talk a little philosophy with you here, Emory, because people when they talk about the quote unquote Shanahan scheme at running back, they say basically we can plug our Walmart grocery bagger in and they'll find some way to produce. And maybe that's what the Jets do. They got Josh Adams, Ty Johnson, Tevin Coleman in this end, so they got a bunch of guys there. But if we play devil's advocate, maybe you can plug anyone in there and get production. That's possible. But what if you plug in a really good guy or a great guy, and maybe you can bring him to a superstar level? Because I'll be honest, as a former running back myself, Emory, I'm often tantalized by the running backs that come out in the draft. Travis Etienne, Najee Harris. It wets my whistle. Now, not every Jets fan's that way. There's like, hey, man, you can get a running back later. But talk to me about philosophy here, Emory. Is there a case to be made that you could get a highly touted back, like an ETN, whether at 23 or 34 for the Jets, or Najee Harris, and you plug them in, and they could be a superstar in this scheme? It seems to be a battling philosophy on Jets Twitter of which direction to go.
Now, I'm actually glad you brought that up in terms of the process of it. Yeah, you can put guys back there, and these are talented guys you can put back there, and they'll have success. But if you put a elite talent back there, it enhances everything. Think in terms of what we used to see with Denver and Mike Shanahan. You had Mike Anderson, you had Olandis Gary. They did a good job. They went over 1,000 yards. But when you put Clinton Portis back there, he was doing 1,500, 1,700. So it's a difference. And so, yeah, if you put that same philosophy with the Jets, and they got a bunch of speed already in the backfield. You talk about Tevin Coleman, Ty Johnson, Pete Guerrero on the practice squad. So they got guys that could fly. But you put someone back there like a Travis Etienne, or someone with terrific vision in Michael Carter. Maybe if they don't want to take those two talents early, maybe they get someone, later like a Javian Hawkins out of Louisville who has elite speed. The point is you want someone with speed and explosiveness at that position. Puka Williams could be another option. So you get someone that has the talent baseline, that has the superior speed, but also has the vision, explosiveness, the quicks. Then it just enhances what you do. I'm so glad you brought that up because people look at the system and not realizing that talent supersedes system. So you put elite talent back there and it could really make the offense go. Just in case in point, when Michael Vick was with the Falcons, and any running back that has good talent is going to be able to do his thing. But you combine that talent with a mobile quarterback, and you have Warwick Dunn having his best season of his career. You have you look at what CJ2K was able to do with Vince Young. He was CJ2K. He wasn't CJ2K without Vince Young. So you put elite talents together in the right system and great things can happen. So if the Jets can find themselves taking Justin Fields at 2 and then taking one of these elite backs, whether they're there at 23 or at the top of the second round, they can do whatever they want in the run game.
So if I'm picking up what you're putting down, Emory, are you a fan of the Dr. Dewich big strategy, the Clinton Portis invest a little bit in the backfield, or again, do you go the poor man strategy here? I heard a lot of sweet praises. I feel like if I had to pick what you just said, that you would be leaning more towards put that elite talent back there and go to work. Am I picking up what you're putting down?
Yeah, for me, it's always about the talent. Take the better talent, and 9 times out of 10, you're gonna find yourself winning a lot of games. When you try to game the draft, it never really works out for you. But if you're able to nail elite talents early, and the Jets have 3 picks in the top 34, they can get 3 elite talents that could change their entire franchise. I tell people this story because it's funny to look at it now, but I was on radio shows in 2018 when the Browns had the first and fourth pick, and everyone was asking me, well, what would you do if you're the Browns? First and fourth pick. I was like, at number one, I'm taking Saquon Barkley. And they were like, oh, wow, you take a running back first. I was like, well, he's the most dynamic player in the class. He's the most explosive back. He's a game breaker because I know I can get the best quarterback in the draft at 4. And it was like, well, you don't want to why not take the quarterback first? Like, because I know the rest of the draft will not take this guy 4th. And that guy was Lamar Jackson. So I would have walked out of the draft with Lamar Jackson and Saquon Barkley in the same backfield. Again, always bet on talent. You could never go wrong with that. So if the Jets have an opportunity to take elite talents, you always want to take great over good, period. And you could apply that to your life when you're looking at restaurants. Yeah, McDonald's has good burgers, but you want to go somewhere where you can get a great burger. If you can have the opportunity to pick, you're gonna go get the great option. You can go get steak from the superstore and cook it yourself, or you can go to a great steakhouse and really enjoy it. If you had the option to do both, you're going to always choose the great option. So why not do that with your roster?
A phenomenal analogy. There you go. Emory Hunt cooking a little bit of everything up here on a mock draft Monday. Let's go to this, because every great running back, and Emory, you would know this better than any, you need those hog mollies in front of you. I guess unless your name is Barry Sanders, and maybe you don't. But everybody else, you need some good hog mollies in front of you. I want to focus on this with the draft. Positional flexibility. For the Jets right now at tackle, they feel great. Mekhi Becton is a budding star, and happy birthday on Sunday to Mekhi Becton turning 22. So that's fantastic. And on the right side, they got George Fant, who they like a lot. But they're only tied to George Fant for another year. Is there a guy out of the draft, or a couple of guys, that is playing tackle in college that could project to play inside either permanently or semi-permanently for a little bit of time, and then could potentially kick back out? Are there some of those prospects in this class? If so, who are some of those names that the Jets should be kicking the tires on those positional flexible guys on the offensive line?
Well, I think now everyone is kind of a little bit flexible, but if you look at Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame, can probably kick inside a little bit, but also can be a stellar tackle. You think about someone like Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC. He played left tackle this year, but probably as a guard at best at the next level. You think about someone like Robert Jones out of Middle Tennessee State, who was a right tackle for the Blue Raiders, but probably could be better suited as a guard. But he played right tackle, and I like his aggressiveness there. He had a really good week of work at the Senior Bowl. So those are some players that I think have those talents, those traits to really help out. If you're lucky enough to where Rashawn Slater falls 23, that'll be an intriguing option because he could play guard or tackle or even center if need be. So there's a good flexibility portion to this draft at that position, because at the offensive line, not only do you want great players, but you also want to be able to maximize your 53 on or your 46 on game day. And if you're able to do that with guys that can play across the board and not be out of position, then your team is going to be better suited to have that long haul of success throughout the course of a 17 game NFL season.
Yeah, we got to get used to that. The 17-game NFL season. By the way, just randomly, the thing that I'm not going to get used to is forever 9-7. Now we're going to be looking at 9-8. Ugh, gross. It just sounds disgusting. I just want to make that perfectly clear. More football, great. I got to get used to the records. I'll tell you that, Emory. Let's go to the other side of the trenches here. What about the edge? We talked about the edge a little bit here, and the Jets haven't had a true edge rusher in a long time. John Abraham, for all those Jet fans who are old enough to remember, back in the early 2000s, was probably the guy. They signed Carl Lawson. They probably feel pretty good about him. But who is the top edge guy in this class? I talk to a different guy every week. It's Azeez Ojulari. It's Jalen Phillips. It's this guy. It's that guy. Is there any consensus with who the top edge guy is? And what do you feel about this edge class overall in 2021, Emory?
I think, if you look at Jalen Phillips and you look at him as a 4-3 end, he's number one, in my opinion. If you're looking for a straight edge rusher, a guy that just can really get after the quarterback, I think that's Joe Tryon out of Washington. So Jets could get either one of those guys. I think they may have an opportunity to get one of either at 23. And so it puts you in a position where, hey, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can get your quarterback at 2, get you a pass rusher at 23, or even at 34, I believe, is when they pick again in the second round. If Tryon is there, or you can trade back into the first round just to make sure you get him, and come up with 3 first-round picks like they've done before. So, I think the Jets do have a unique opportunity. I would say Tryon and Phillips are the guys that you probably want to take early. You want to take a chance with someone maybe in the second round and don't want to spend that capital. You look at Quincy Roche out of Miami. Phillips' teammate is really good. He can get out their quarterback. I'm a big fan of Cam Sample out of Tulane, who can also rush the passer. He can play across the board up front. And Ronnie Perkins is another one that I think is a good outside rusher. I like those guys more than Azeez Ojulari, who I think is more of a sandbacker, a guy that can, hold the edge. He's strong in that regard. He's a strong edge setter, can set the, and help set you up versus the run, and also has some good pass rush ability. But I think he's more of a blitzer than he is a guy with true pass rush skills. So that's why I see him more as a sandbacker, which could be something that they want at that position. So I can understand that. I still have a pretty good grade on Ojulari, but if I'm talking about guys that can just go, I'm talking about Tryon, Phillips, Roche, Sample. I'm talking about those guys, and Perkins as well.
And a couple quickies before we end on a mock draft here, Emory. And first off, it seems like Zach Wilson is going to be the number 2 guy. I've had draft guys make arguments for Fields, and I've had guys make arguments for Lance and for Zach Wilson. Where are you on Zach Wilson? What do you think of him?
He's my number 3 quarterback. He's behind Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence is number 1. But the unique part is I have an 85 grade on Fields. I have an 83 grade on Wilson. So it's not like Wilson is like a 70 something like I had, going back to 2018, I had a 90 grade on Lamar Jackson. And my number 2 quarterback that year was Sam Darnold, who I had a 79 grade on. So I had kind of like a second round grade on Darnold, but a top 10 grade on Lamar Jackson. So I do have Fields and Lance Fields and Wilson pretty close. And for me, I worry about durability with Wilson, because he has an injury history. Fields, to me, why I would take him. So if the Jets take Wilson, it doesn't matter, or Fields from a talent perspective. The reason why I like Fields over Wilson in New York is because you have to have the right temperament to play in this media circus that we call New York City. Yeah. If you're not built mentally to take on this pressure, this added pressure, while playing great football, you can crumble. And even though, let's say, Eli Manning wasn't the great quarterback, but he had great temperament for this media market and was able to thrive. And you think about the Jets, what they need at that position. Someone like Justin Fields has played big games and has won big games. Sam Darnold played in big games, but didn't win those big games. Going back to USC, he lost those big games. You look at, Wilson, they didn't really play big games this year. The one big game they played, they kind of lost. And I say kind of because he did have him in position to win with that last throw in that game. The guy came up, I believe, 1 yard short. But even he played in a big game 2 years ago against USC, and he kind of scrappily won that game. So he does have some of that ability with him. But you worry about the injury, and you worry about, coming out of that bubble of BYU and playing in New York City. But Fields, following the career Dwayne Haskins had that season at Ohio State, where he set Big Ten records and NCAA records, and you got this transfer coming in from Georgia, who didn't really see play much, and he's supposed to follow that and be who was a Heisman finalist in Dwayne Haskins, and all he did was make himself a Heisman finalist as well, and put together a fantastic year in 2019, and also a fantastic year in 2020, beating Trevor Lawrence in the playoffs. That's the type of guy, from a makeup standpoint, that would be perfect in this environment. If you're talking about playing in Charlotte or playing in, Houston or playing somewhere else, I can entertain Zach Wilson over Justin Fields. But here, I think Fields should be the guy.
That's a great case and a great point on temperament, where that has not been made enough here during these conversations. All right, Emory, to wrap this up, this is a mock draft Monday. So we got to continue the tradition of every guest we have on the show doing a little mock drafting for the New York Jets picks. I'll set you up, I'll throw it to you, and you can pick whoever you want. This is you. You are the GM. You've just been promoted. You have just been upgraded, Emory. You make all the decisions here on One Jets Drive. We'll see if the Jets fans love you or hate you after this. So let's jump at number two. I feel like I know where you're going here. Number two pick, you're on the clock.
Yeah, it's Justin Fields. I'm going Justin Fields. He has the right temperament. He has a Deshaun Watson-like mentality to where you never feel that you're out of a game with, Fields at the helm, and you also can't fluster him. You don't see him get rattled. You don't see him, get frustrated if he has bad plays or make some mistakes. That's the guy you want handling the quarterback situation here in New York.
Yeah, 1,000%. And by the way, bringing up the Deshaun Watson vibes, when the Jets passed on Deshaun Watson, some guy named Patrick Mahomes a couple of years ago, but we'll leave those painful memories in the closet. Now we jump to 23. You've just given the Jets their franchise quarterback. Thank you, Emory. Bow down to Emory Hunt. You just delivered us a franchise quarterback. Now what about 23? You're giving Justin Fields, you're giving a brother some help on offense, you're jumping over to defense. The world is your oyster here, Emory. Let's go to 23.
Well, 23 is going to be interesting because I love the point that you brought up about linebacker. And I think that's a underrated element of where the Jets have to go. And the fact that they don't have Jenkins anymore, they don't have Basham anymore, guys who I like that were starting to come along. I'm going edge rushers. I'm going Joe Tryon right there in the second round and get them the second pick of the first round, get them a pass rusher because they're so limited in this class. And I think guys that, like Phillips will go ahead of him. I'm taking Tryon because I know he has the upside, the athleticism, the length, and the potential to be outstanding. He reminds me a lot of Montez Sweat. So I'm going with him in the first round, getting the pass rusher.
Yeah, finally, phenomenal. The Jets haven't had edge rushers in a long time. I love Lawson and Perrin Tryon on the other side. That sounds delicious. Now let's go to 34, and I say this every week on the show for all these mock draft Monday interviews. 34 is one of my favorite picks. You reset the entire draft board. You have a night to think about it, sleep on it. I'm sure they're going to get a lot of trade offers for this pick as well. 34 sounds like a great position to add another one of those elite playmakers or elite talents you were talking about earlier in the interview. 34, where are we going?
Let's assume that Pittsburgh takes Najee Harris and, Miami wants to go to another position or something like that. So Travis Etienne is sitting right there at that pick 34. I'm going to go ahead on and just select him and have that game breaker right there waiting in the backfield because you pair speed up with someone like Justin Fields, who's also a +1 in the run game, and you make greatness happen.
All right, and there you go. You mentioned the Lamar Jackson Saquon Barkley thing earlier. We were never able to see that to fruition. Emory Hunt has now delivered us Justin Fields and Travis Etienne. I am sour. I am just full of flavor on that one. That one sounds fantastic. And let's jump over to the third round. We'll just do this and do it for the double picks. The Jets are at both, you got a 66-86 combination there. So let's go to the third round. They have their own third round pick. And also thanks to Seattle. Thank you, Jamal Adams, for that one. Let's go to the top of the third round here. Emory, where are we going?
I'm going to secondary. I'm going to Cameron Bynum out of Cal. Love the length, athleticism, and A+ ball skills. When you're long, can press, and can take the ball away, I want you in my secondary. This is somebody that I have a very high grade on, like a first round grade. And if I know he's probably going to go in the second round, but just for the sake of this mock, let's say he's there in the top of the third. For whatever, I'm going Cameron Bynum out of Cal. Big fan of his game.
All right, I love it. Hey, give us guys falling down the board. It happens all the time. With crazy runs, players got to move. They always say there's this many first-round players. There's only this many first-round picks. Somebody's got to fall. Let's wrap it up with one final pick at the end of the third round, thanks to Seattle. 86 overall. You've really gave a huge upgrade, a huge facelift to this team. What's the cherry on top of this Sunday, Emory?
Well, the offense happens, the run game happens, guard, center, guard. So I want to upgrade that guard position with Tristan Hodge out of BYU. You watch Zach Wilson play, and you notice he had 7 weeks to throw the football. You look at that interior offensive line, Tristan Hodge was dominating guys. And it's a big reason why Algieri, the running back, had so much room to run going right off his butt on the left side. So you get a very good, stellar offensive lineman to help you on the inside at guard. and to help spearhead that run game, but also helps solidify what they have up front. I do think the Jets are building something solid along that offensive line, and why not just keep adding good playmakers up front with a guy that should be there in the third round who's terrific that no one's talking about. He was a Notre Dame transferred to BYU to get playing time and dominated there alongside Brady Christensen at left tackle. So I'm a big fan of Tristan Hodge, so I think that would be a great fit for this offensive line and for the Jets in the third round.
Boom. Chef's kiss. Emory Hunt's New York Jets football game plan to fix this damn team. Emory, phenomenal job. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on a Mock Draft Monday. You already gave us the plug for the football game plan, where people can get the latest draft guide. Where can people hit you up and follow you on social?
But follow me on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. Instagram is Football Game Plan. They can also subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network, which is located at youtube.com/football game plan. But remember, pick up that draft guide, footballgameplan.com/2021 draft guide.
All right, Emory, thank you so much for joining me, man. Good luck and enjoy the draft.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on.